Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today, we're diving into one of the greatest treasures in United States coin history. This coin is shrouded in mystery, steeped in legend, and worth more than most cars, homes, and even some small businesses. I am talking about the legendary 1894 S1 dime coin. Yes, you heard that right, a single 10-cent coin that could be worth over $1 million today. So grab a seat and stick around as we uncover the story of this rare coin, how it came to be, why it's worth so much, and how the market sees it in today's world. Let's begin with a bit of background. The 1894 S dime was minted in San Francisco, and it belongs to the Barber dime series, which ran from 1892 to 1916. The Barber dime gets its name from Charles E. Barber, the chief engraver of the United States Mint at the time. He designed the dime, the quarter, and the half-dollar during this period, all featuring the same Liberty head profile. Now here's where the story gets really interesting. In the year 1894, only 24 of these dimes were minted in San Francisco. That's not a misstatement, just 24. To put that in perspective, in most years tens of millions of dimes are produced. But in this particular case, just 24 pieces came off the press. Why? No one knows for sure. There are many theories, but no documented reason for such a tiny mintage. Some say the mint needed to balance its books at the end of the fiscal year and ran a short batch to reach a specific figure. Others suggest they were struck as gifts for important bankers or dignitaries. One of the more popular stories involves the mint superintendent himself, John Daggett, who is rumored to have given several of the coins to his friends and family, including 3 to his daughter Hallie, with the advice to hold on to them because they'd be valuable someday. The story goes that she spent one on ice cream. Fast forward to today, and experts believe only 9 of the original 24 coins are known to still exist. Some are held in private collections, some in museums, and a few have made stunning appearances at major auctions. Let's talk about value. In the early 20th century, the coin was already considered a collector's item, but over the decades the value has skyrocketed beyond belief. In 1998, a specimen sold at auction for over $250,000. In 2005, another sold for $1.30 million. In 2007, one fetched nearly $2 million, and in more recent years the values have remained just as strong, if not stronger. In 2016, a proof 1894 S dime sold for $1.99 million through heritage auctions, and in 2021 example again crossed the $1 million mark. It's now considered one of the top 5 rarest and most expensive coins in American numismatic history. But what makes it so valuable? 3 major things: rarity, condition, and mystery. With only a handful of examples surviving, its rarity is beyond question. Collectors crave what they can't easily find, and this coin tops the list. Then there's the condition, because all the 1894 S dimes were struck as proofs. Each one is beautifully detailed with mirror-like finishes, and condition matters a lot in coin collecting. If you find one in pristine proof condition, its value multiplies dramatically. The final factor is the story itself. The mystery behind why only 24 were made and what happened to the missing ones has added decades of allure to the coin. That kind of backstory creates emotional value, not just financial. Now let's talk about the current marquetas of this year. The 1894 S dime remains a holy grail coin. It's rarely seen on the open market, and when it does appear it commands headlines and bidding wars. The current estimate for a top condition specimen ranges between $1.5 and $2.5 million depending on its proof grade and provenance. And if an undiscovered example were to appear today, it would be a massive event in the numismatic world. Imagine a garage sale or attic discovery leading to a multi-million-dollar payday. It's happened before, and it could happen again. That's why even modern-day treasure hunters keep their eyes peeled. So what should you do if you come across an old dime in your collection or in a relative's coin jar? First, take a close look at the date. If you see 1894 and the small S mint mark on the reverse side below the wreath, that's your first clue. Then examine the details. A real 1894 S-proof dime should show razor-sharp detail with frosted devices and mirror-like fields, but let's be honest, the odds of stumbling across one are extremely small. Still, it's good to know what to look for, because you just never know. In conclusion, the 1894 S1 dime is more than just currency. It's a symbol of American history, of minting mystery, and of the value we place on rarity. From a humble 10-cent piece to a $1 million artifact, it represents the dream of discovery that drives collectors around the world. We're diving deep into a coin that's probably passed through your hands dozens of times without you thinking twice. But what if I told you that a simple 1994 D Roosevelt dime could be worth a lot more than just 10 cents? In fact, some of these coins have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on condition, rarity, and a few very specific factors. So if you've got a handful of dimes laying around, you might want to check them closely. This video could help you spot a valuable gem hidden in plain sight. Let's begin with a quick overview of the Roosevelt dime series. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946 as a tribute to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had passed away the previous year. Roosevelt played a key role in founding the March of Dimes, an organization created to combat polio. The dime was chosen as a symbol of this cause, and the design has remained largely unchanged since it was first released. Now let's focus on the 1994 D Roosevelt dime in particular. The D Mint mark on the 1994 Roosevelt dime indicates that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. In 1994, the Denver Mint produced over 1 billion dimes. That's right, more than 1 billion. This makes the coin relatively common in circulated condition. However, as with many coins, the devil is in the details. While the majority of 1994 D dimes are only worth their face value of 10 cents, there are certain examples that command serious premiums among collectors. So what makes a 1994 D dime valuable? The first thing to look at is the condition. Uncirculated examples that have never been used in everyday transactions can be worth more. Coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC and given a high grade, especially mint state 67 or higher, can fetch anywhere from $20 to over $100. And if the coin is a top population example, meaning it's one of the finest known specimens in that grade, its value can jump dramatically. For example, one 1994 D Roosevelt dime graded MS68 by PCGS sold for over $1,000 at auction. That's a 10-cent coin selling for more than $1,000 simply because of its condition and rarity at that grade. But condition isn't the only thing that matters. Error coins are where things get really interesting. Let's talk about rare and valuable errors found on some 1994 D Roosevelt dimes. Error coins can be incredibly valuable, and the 1994 D dime is no exception. Some of the most sought-after errors include off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, missing clad layers, and more. These mistakes happen during the minting process and are usually caught before the coins leave the mint, but sometimes they slip through and end up in circulation. One example is a 1994 D dime that was struck off-center by more than 50%. That means the design is noticeably shifted and part of the coin's details are missing. An error like this can increase the value significantly, often selling for several $100s depending on how dramatic the error is. Another error to look out for is the missing clad layer. Modern dimes are made of a copper core sandwiched between layers of nickel. If a coin is missing its outer layer, it can appear copper-colored and is highly collectible. A 1994 D dime with a missing clad layer can sell for over $100 or more, especially if it's in great condition. Double die errors, where parts of the design appear doubled due to a misalignment in the die-making process, are also highly sought after. While a confirmed major double die for the 1994 D Roosevelt dime is extremely rare, collectors still keep an eye out because any newly discovered variety could skyrocket in value due to its novelty. Now let's talk about the current market value. As of now, in average circulated condition, a 1994 D Roosevelt dime is worth about 10 cents. It's still spendable and not particularly rare in worn condition. But in uncirculated condition, specifically coins that have never been used and are kept in coin rolls, mint sets, or holders, values can range from $1 to $5 depending on luster, strike quality, and eye appeal. Certified coins in mint state 66 or higher can be worth $20 to $50. Mint state 67 examples can sell for over $100. MS68 examples, as mentioned earlier, can go for more than $1,000, though these are very rare. Error coins vary widely in value depending on the nature and severity of the mistake. Minor off-center errors might bring in $20 to $50, while major errors can sell for several hundred. Unique or dramatic errors that are visually impressive can sell for even more. To give you a real-life example, a 1994 D Roosevelt dime with an extremely high grade of MS68 full torch, meaning the torch design on the reverse is fully struck and sharp, sold at auction for over $1,300. This shows how even a common coin can become a valuable collectible under the right conditions. So what should you do if you think you have a valuable 1994 D Roosevelt dime? First, inspect it closely under good lighting. Look for any signs of errors like doubling, off-center strikes, or missing layers. Then check the condition. If the coin looks sharp with no signs of wear, it may be worth grading. If you believe your coin is uncirculated or has a significant error, consider submitting it to a third-party grading service like PCGS or NGC. They can certify its grade and authenticity, which will help you get the most value if you decide to sell it. You can also visit coin shows, local coin dealers, or online marketplaces like eBay to compare your coin to others and get an idea of its value. Just remember that condition and rarity are everything in the world of coin collecting. In conclusion, the 1994 D Roosevelt dime may be a common coin, but it has the potential to be worth far more than face value under the right circumstances. Whether it's an immaculate high-grade example or a fascinating mint error, collectors are always looking for standout pieces to add to their collections. So next time you're sorting through your change jar or coin collection, take a second look at those dimes. You might just find a hidden treasure. We're diving deep into the world of coin collecting to uncover the story behind the 1996 D Roosevelt dime. At first glance, it might look like just another dime in your pocket change. But hold on. There's a lot more to this coin than meets the eye. From its origins and minting details to surprising prices it can fetch today, we're going to cover everything you need to know. So stick around until the end because you might just be sitting on a small fortune without even knowing it. Let's get started with a little bit of history. The Roosevelt dime was first issued in 1946, 1 year after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. He had led the United States through both the Great Depression and World War II, and his leadership left an unforgettable mark on the nation. The dime was chosen to honor him in part because of his association with the March of Dimes, a campaign to fight polio, the disease that Roosevelt himself battled throughout his life. Now, fast forward 50 years to 1996. That was a special year for the Roosevelt dime. It marked the 50th anniversary of the series. As a result, the U.S. Mint issued a special collector's edition of the coin at the West Point Mint with a W mint mark. That West Point version was not released into general circulation. It was only included as part of a special mint set. But today, we're focusing on the version that was minted in Denver, the 1996 D Roosevelt dime. Let's talk about its specifications. The 1996 D Roosevelt dime is made of a clad composition, meaning it has a copper core sandwiched between two layers of copper nickel. It weighs 2.27 grams and has a diameter of 17.91 millimeters. It features President Roosevelt on the obverse or front side, facing left, with the word liberty to the left of his face and the motto "In God We Trust" under his chin. The date, 1996, is to the right, and just below that is the mint mark D, indicating that it was struck at the Denver Mint. On the reverse side, we see a torch in the center, flanked by an olive branch on the left and an oak branch on the right. These symbols represent liberty, peace, and strength. Around the edge of the coin are the inscriptions United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, and one dime. In 1996, the Denver Mint struck a massive number of these dimes, over 1.4 billion, to be exact. That's billion with a B. Because of that high mintage, most 1996 D Roosevelt dimes are extremely common in circulated condition. You'll find them in pocket change, coin jars, and vending machines. But here's where things get interesting. While the average 1996 D dime is worth face value, just 10 cents, certain examples can sell for a lot more. In uncirculated or mint state condition, these coins start to become collectible. Especially coins that grade MS65 and higher. MS stands for mint state, and it refers to a coin's condition on the Sheldon scale, which runs from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS65 or higher has no wear and only minor imperfections, making it highly desirable among collectors. A 1996 D dime graded MS67 by PCGS, which is one of the top coin grading companies, can sell for $30 to $50 or more, depending on the market. A superb example graded MS68 can reach well over $100. In fact, in 2020, a 1996 D Roosevelt dime in MS68 condition sold at auction for over $500. That's a huge return on what was originally just a 10-cent coin. So how do you know if your 1996 D dime is valuable? Start by checking the condition. If it looks brand new with no scratches or signs of wear, you may have something special. You should also look for any unusual features. Errors and varieties can add major value. Some collectors have reported finding 1996 D dimes with double dies, off-center strikes, or other minting mistakes. These errors are rare, but they can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the severity and the demand from collectors. For example, a double die error where the lettering appears to be doubled is one of the most sought-after mistakes. An off-center strike where part of the design is missing or misaligned can also fetch a premium. If you think you have an error coin, it's best to get it authenticated and graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. Now let's take a look at current market trends. As of mid-2025, circulated 1996 D-dimes are still worth face value, 10 cents. However, uncirculated coins in mint state 65 can bring in anywhere from $3 to $10. Coins in MS67 can sell for $30 to $75, while the rare MS68 pieces remain highly desirable and can reach prices over $200 if demand is strong. The market for Roosevelt dimes has been steady in recent years, and while common dates remain inexpensive, high-grade coins and rare varieties continue to climb in value. That's especially true for coins that are slabbed or professionally graded and sealed, because buyers trust the condition and authenticity. So what should you do if you find a 1996 D Roosevelt dime in great condition? First, don't spend it. Put it aside and examine it carefully under good lighting. Use a magnifying glass if you have one. Look for sharp details, clean surfaces, and any unusual features like doubling or off-center strikes. If it looks promising, consider having it graded by a reputable company. Yes, grading does cost money, but for potentially valuable coins, it can be worth the investment. And even if it turns out to be a standard issue, you've learned more about an important piece of American coinage history. To wrap things up, the 1996 D Roosevelt dime may not seem like much, but in high grades and rare errors, it can be worth far more than its face value. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, it's worth keeping an eye out for these little coins in your change. You never know what kind of treasure you might uncover. We're diving deep into a small coin with a big story, the 1998 D Roosevelt dime. This little 10-cent piece might be hiding in your pocket change right now, and believe it or not, some versions of it could be worth a whole lot more than just 10 cents. We'll cover its fascinating history, what makes some of them rare, how to identify valuable errors, and what they are currently selling for in the collector's market. So stick around, because you might have a treasure hiding in plain sight. History of the Roosevelt dime. To understand the 1998 D dime, we need to take a quick look at the history of the Roosevelt dime itself. This coin was first introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who led the United States through the Great Depression and most of World War II. He was also a key figure in founding the March of Dimes, which aimed to fight polio, a disease that he himself battled. Because of this connection, the dime was chosen to carry his image after his death in 1945. Designed by John Arsenic, the Roosevelt dime replaced the Mercury dime and featured a left-facing portrait of Roosevelt on the obverse, with a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch on the reverse. This symbolism represents liberty, peace, and strength, three core American values. The 1998 D Roosevelt dime. Fast forward to 1998. That year, over 1.2 billion Roosevelt dimes were struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark on the obverse, located to the right of Roosevelt's neck. Because of the massive mintage number, most 1998 D dimes are very common and are found in circulation across the United States. Most of these coins are made of a copper core with a layer of cupronickel, which gives the coin its shiny silver color. They weigh about 2.27 grams and have a diameter of 17.91 millimeters. SOY, would a 1998 D dime be worth more than 10 cents? Here's where it gets interesting. While the majority of these coins are worth face value, there are exceptions. Some 1998 D dimes have been found with rare mint errors, unusual conditions, or proof-like qualities that make them highly desirable among collectors. Key value factors. There are several key factors that can raise the value of your 1998 D Roosevelt dime. 1. Mint errors. Collectors love error coins, and the 1998 D has a few documented examples. One of the most sought-after errors is an off-center strike. These happen when the coin is not properly aligned during the minting process, resulting in a coin that is missing part of the design. Depending on how off-center the strike is, these can be worth anywhere from $10 to over $100. Another error type is a die clash, where elements from one side of the coin appear faintly on the other due to misalignment or pressure issues inside the minting press. Die clashes on a 1998 D dime can fetch $20 to $75 or more depending on the visibility of the clash. Some rare examples include double die obverse or reverses. In these cases, elements of the coin's design appear doubled due to a misalignment between the die and the planchet. These varieties are rare for the 1998 D but not impossible. If you see doubling in the lettering or date, it's worth having the coin evaluated by a grading service. Point 2. High-grade uncirculated coins. A typical circulated 1998 D-dime is worth face value. However, coins that were never used in circulation and remain in pristine condition can be worth much more. Coins graded MS65 or higher by services like PCGS or NGC are valued by collectors for their perfect detail and luster. In recent years, 1998 D Roosevelt dimes graded MS67 have sold at auction for between $20 and $75. In rare cases where the coin reaches MS68, the price can jump even higher, sometimes crossing the $100 mark. Point 3. Full bands designation. Another premium comes when a Roosevelt dime has what's known as full bands on the reverse. This means the horizontal bands wrapping around the torch are fully separated and clearly defined. It indicates a strong strike and excellent die condition. Collectors pay a premium for full bands. Examples. A 1998 D with full bands in MS67 can fetch upwards of $150. How to check if your 1998 D dime is valuable? Here's what to do if you want to check your pocket change or coin collection for a valuable 1998 D dime. Step 1. Look at the overall condition. If it is heavily worn, it's probably worth just 10 cents. Step 2. Check the mint mark. You want to find a D which stands for the Denver Mint. Step 3. Use a magnifying glass to check for any unusual errors, like doubling, off-center strikes, or die clashes. Step 4. Flip the coin over and examine the torch. Look closely at the horizontal bands. If you see full separation with no merging of lines, you might have a full bands coin. Step 5. Consider submitting your coin to a grading service if it appears to be in mint state or has a noticeable error. A certified coin with a label from a major grading company will always sell for more in the collector's market. Current market value in 2025. As of this year, the typical 1998 D Roosevelt dime in circulated condition is still worth face value, just 10 cents. However, uncirculated examples in MS65 range are selling for between $5 and $15. Coins with full bands or MS67 or higher are trading between $30 and $150 depending on eye appeal and rarity. Rare error coins, especially off-center strikes or double dies, can command anywhere from $20 to $300 or more. If you happen to own a 1998 D Roosevelt dime with a well-documented mint error, or in perfect condition with full bands, you may be holding a miniature treasure. Closing UGHTS. So the next time you're going through your spare change or coin jar, take a moment to look closely at those dimes. The 1998 D Roosevelt dime might be easy to overlook, but in the world of coin collecting, it proves that even modern coins can carry hidden value. We're diving deep into the world of the Roosevelt dime, specifically the 2004 P Roosevelt 1 dime. You may think it's just 10 cents, but some of these little coins could be worth a whole lot more than their face value. Stay tuned because this coin might just surprise you. Let's begin with a little background. The Roosevelt dime was first minted in 1946 to honor President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States. He led the country through the Great Depression and World War II, and he was a key figure in the creation of the March of Dimes, a campaign to combat polio. That is why his image was chosen for the dime. It was a symbolic tribute to his legacy and commitment to public health. Now fast forward to 2004. That year, the Philadelphia Mint struck a massive number of Roosevelt dimes. Over 1.2 billion of them to be exact. That's right. More than 1 billion of these coins were produced at the Philadelphia facility, marked with a small P near Roosevelt's neck. So why would a coin that had over 1 billion made be worth more than 10 cents? The answer lies in the details, and we mean the tiny details. First off, let's talk about condition. Like any collectible, coins in pristine condition are worth more. Coins that are uncirculated, meaning they've never been used in everyday transactions, are usually in what collectors call mint state. These coins can range in quality from MS60 all the way up to MS70, which is a perfect coin with no visible imperfections even under magnification. A 2004 P Roosevelt dime in MS65 condition might sell for a few dollars. Not bad for a 10-cent piece. But if it's in MS67 or higher, the price jumps. These higher-grade dimes are scarce, even among uncirculated rolls. In MS68 condition, this dime can fetch $50 or more at auction. But there's more. Errors and varieties are where the real money is. Let's start with double dies. A double die error occurs when the coin die is misaligned during the minting process, causing the design to be struck twice in a slightly different position. This can lead to visible doubling on the letters, numbers, or even Roosevelt's features. A 2004 Roosevelt dime with a strong double die can be worth hundreds of dollars depending on its condition and how prominent the doubling is. Another rare find is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin blank is not properly aligned in the press, and only part of the design is struck. The more dramatic the misalignment, the more valuable the coin. Some off-center 2004 dimes have sold for $20 to $50 or more depending on the percentage of the design that's missing. Then we have full bands. What are full bands? On the back of the dime, you'll see a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch. On the torch, there are two sets of horizontal bands near the top and bottom. If all the lines in both sets of bands are fully struck and clearly separated, that's what collectors call full bands, or FB for short. Dimes with full bands are harder to find and often command a premium. A 2004 Roosevelt dime with full bands and in mint state condition could easily be worth $40 to $100 or more. Another thing to look for is missing clad layers. The modern dime is made of a copper core sandwiched between two layers of a copper-nickel alloy. Sometimes, one of these outer layers is missing due to a minting error. A dime missing a clad layer will look coppery on one side, and these errors can bring in big bucks, often selling from $50 to $200 depending on eye appeal and grade. So what's the current market like for the 2004 Roosevelt dime? Most circulated examples are worth face value. You'll find millions of them in change, and unless they're in extremely good condition or have an error, they won't be worth much more than 10 cents. However, if you have rolls of uncirculated coins or you find one in near-perfect condition, or even better, with a rare error, you might be holding something worth real money. As of now, auction records show high-grade examples in MS-68 selling for between $50 and $150. Rare error coins from that year, including double dies and off-center strikes, have sold for several $100s. Even more if it's certified by a reputable grading company like PCGS or NGC.so. How do you find these gems? Start by checking your change. Pay attention to coins that look unusually shiny or ones with odd features. Use a magnifier or jeweler's loupe to inspect the date, mint mark, and lettering for signs of doubling or distortion. Compare the torch bands to see if they're fully struck and separated. And if a coin looks copper on one side, don't spend it. It might be a valuable missing clad layer error. Also, check coin rolls from the bank. Many collectors have found high-grade coins and errors this way, especially from older rolls that have sat untouched for years. To wrap it up, the 2004 Roosevelt dime is not the rarest coin out there, but it holds plenty of value for collectors who know what to look for. With potential double die varieties, full band strikes, off-center errors, and missing clad layers, this small silver-colored coin could be worth much more than 10 cents. So the next time you get change back from a store or you're sorting through coin rolls, keep an eye out for that 2004 dime. You never know, you might have a hidden treasure in your hand. We're diving deep into the fascinating world of coins, history, and unexpected treasure right in your pocket. Specifically, we're going to explore the Roosevelt 2006 D1 dime coin. You might be surprised to find out how much value a tiny 10-cent coin can hold. So sit back, relax, and let's uncover the story, the value, and what collectors are currently paying for this interesting coin. Let's start with the basics. The Roosevelt dime was first issued in 1946, shortly after the death of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Roosevelt had been a beloved leader who guided the country through the Great Depression and most of World War II. Not only that, but he was also a passionate advocate for polio research, having suffered from the disease himself. His image was chosen to replace the Mercury dime to honor his legacy, particularly his connection to the March of Dimes Foundation, which was originally launched to fight polio. Fast forward 60 years and we arrive at the 2006 Roosevelt dime. This specific coin was struck at the Denver Mint, which is indicated by the small letter D found near the date on the coin. But what makes the 2006 D dime special, and is it worth more than its face value of 10 cents? To answer that question, let's break down the factors that influence a coin's worth. These include its mintage, condition, errors or variations, historical significance, and the current demand among collectors. So let's tackle these one by one in the context of the 2006 D dime. First, mintage. In 2006, the Denver Mint struck over 1 billion Roosevelt dimes. That's right, more than 1 billion of these coins were made. On the surface, that kind of number might make you think the coin is common and worth little more than face value. And for the most part, that's true. A regular 2006 dime found in pocket change with signs of wear is usually worth 10 cents. But not all coins are created equal. Which brings us to condition. Coins that have never been circulated and are in pristine condition, often referred to as mint state, can be worth more. Collectors grade these coins using a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect, flawless example. A 2006 dime in mint state 65 or better can fetch a small premium. These high-grade examples are often found in coin rolls, mint sets, or directly from the U.S. Mint's annual collector sets. Now let's talk about the real stars of the coin world: error coins. Error coins are mistakes made during the minting process, and they are some of the most sought-after collectibles because of their rarity and visual interest. So, are there any known errors with the 2006 dime? Actually, yes. A few 2006 Roosevelt dimes have been found with off-center strikes, die cracks, missing clad layers, and even double dies. These are all types of mint errors, and depending on the severity and clarity of the mistake, they can be worth anywhere from a few dollars to over $100 or more. One of the most valuable known errors for the 2006 dime is a missing clad layer, which results in a copper-colored coin rather than the usual silver appearance. If you find one of these, you may be looking at a value of $40 or higher depending on its condition. There's also a known double die variety, although it is quite rare. A double die error means some part of the design appears doubled because of a mistake during the die creation process. In some cases, you can see doubled lettering or numbers, especially in the words Liberty or In God We Trust. If you happen to find a 2006 dime with a visible double die error, have it evaluated by a professional grader or coin dealer because it could be worth several $100s or more. Now let's talk about grading. If you believe you have a high-quality or error coin, you might want to get it professionally graded. Services like PCGS and NGC are the most respected names in coin grading. A 2006 Roosevelt dime graded MS68 or higher is quite rare and can bring values over $30, even without an error. And if it includes an error, the value can climb dramatically. For example, in an online auction not long ago, a 2006 dime with a partial color error sold for around $60. Not bad for a coin originally worth just 10 cents. So what's the current market value for the 2006 dime? Most circulated examples are still worth face value. Mint state examples without errors can range from $1 to $5. Error coins, depending on type and rarity, can be worth anywhere from $10 up to $200 or more. The most valuable ones are high-grade errors with dramatic visible flaws, such as full missing clad layers or major die breaks. Now you might be wondering, how do I check if my 2006 dime is valuable? First, inspect the coin under good lighting. Look for sharp details, shiny surfaces, and especially any signs of doubling or color anomalies. Use a magnifying glass if you can. Compare your coin to online images of known error coins. And if you suspect something special, take it to a coin shop or send it in for grading. Before we wrap up, let me leave you with this thought. Every coin has a story. The Roosevelt dime reminds us of a leader who left a profound impact on the nation. Even in a small and unassuming 10-cent piece, there can be hidden history and unexpected value. So whether you're a collector or just someone curious about the change in your pocket, it's worth taking a closer look. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more content on coins, currency, and collectibles. And if you've ever found a valuable error coin, drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your story. Until next time, keep hunting and happy collecting.